Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining the National Down Syndrome Society's webinar, A Caregiver's Guide to Supporting Career Development for Adults with Down Syndrome. Whether you're a parent, sibling, professional, or friend, your role as a caregiver matters deeply, and we're excited to have you with us. This is the second webinar in our caregiver series, which is happening throughout this month in October, Down Syndrome Awareness Month. Be sure to check out our website for additional webinar offerings in this series. Today, we'll be exploring how caregivers can support individuals with Down syndrome in finding meaningful work and building long-term career pathways. My name is Ryan Rotundo, and I'm the Director of Community Partnerships and Engagement here at the National Down Syndrome Society. Before we dive into today's content about employment, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items to ensure that everyone has an enjoyable experience throughout today's webinar. First, if you experience any technical issues during the webinar, please use the chat function to notify our support team, and they will do their best to assist you promptly. Secondly, our presenters will answer questions at the end of the webinar, so we encourage you to submit your questions through the webinar using the Q&A feature. So not the chat, but the Q&A feature located near the bottom of the screen. We'll do our best to answer as many questions as possible during the designated Q&A time. If we are unable to answer your questions during the event, or you just have a very specific question that you'd like to share with our team, we will be sharing an email address toward the end of today's webinar that you can use to contact us. Please note that we will not be using the raise hand feature throughout this webinar. This webinar will be recorded or is being recorded and will be shared on the NDSS YouTube channel and NDSS website within a few days. You will receive an email with a link within the next couple of days and links to some of the resources mentioned in today's presentation. Thank you so much again for your participation, your attention. Let's get started. So just a little bit about the National Down Syndrome Society. NDSS was founded in 1979, and our mission is to create a world where individuals with Down syndrome thrive. You may have seen this newly announced mission last week alongside some of our other exciting news and updates. In case you missed it, the National Down Syndrome Society recently acquired LuMind IDSC Foundation. For more information about the joining together of these two organizations and the incredible impact that it can have on the Down syndrome community, please visit the link that's being shared in the chat. For our employment program, just a quick breakdown. Our employment program seeks to increase access to the workforce for all people with Down syndrome. Through collaboration with the NDSS affiliate organizations, employers, government agencies, and with other stakeholders, NDSS creates meaningful change in the professional lives of people with Down syndrome across the country. Specifically, NDSS advocates for policies that increase access to competitive, integrated employment for individuals, provides valuable resources, support, and training to the community, and offers technical assistance to corporations, as well as highlighting the success of employees and business owners with Down syndrome. Just a quick note on some of our resources. Today's speaker will share some helpful tips in supporting your loved one's employment journey. We also want to point out a few NDSS resources that might be helpful along the way. Our resume resources help individuals with Down syndrome create clear and professional resumes by providing easy to follow guidance, a checklist to ensure nothing is missed, and a downloadable template. Our Partnering for Career Success guide offers practical tips for individuals with Down syndrome who are interested in pursuing competitive integrated employment in their community. The guide also includes real-life success stories that show how the right support and job fit can lead to meaningful career achievements while highlighting each person's unique talents. And if your loved one is looking to gain experience through giving feedback, our volunteer resource can be a great place to start and was created by programs associate Charlotte Woodward, who currently serves on the NDSS team as well. We encourage you to explore these resources and more after today's webinar. As we celebrate Down Syndrome Awareness Month and National Disability Employment Awareness Month, we want to highlight the incredible talent in our community. Stories of employment success are also so important because they show how skills, abilities, and contributions of people with Down syndrome can help break down stereotypes. We invite you, families, caregivers, and supporters to share your loved one's employment story. This can include paid jobs, internships, volunteering, or just any meaningful work experience. Every story matters. These stories not only honor individuals' accomplishments, but also help educate employers and the broader community about the talent and value individuals with Down syndrome bring to the workplace. My colleague will share a link in the chat, or excuse me, in the chat bar there for success stories, submission forms in just a moment. And you can also, and it will also be shared in the follow-up email to this presentation. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce you to today's speaker. Some of you may recognize the name, as Amanda Myers has done some incredible presentations for NDSS in the past. Amanda is currently the Director of Employment Services at Down Syndrome Innovations, and she is a certified employment support professional. She joined the organization in April of 2021, bringing over a decade of experience supporting individuals with diverse abilities. Prior to joining Down Syndrome Innovations, Amanda worked with children at a community mental health center, where she was recognized as Employee of the Year. She then moved to Vancouver, British Columbia, to serve as an employment specialist supporting individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. At Down Syndrome Innovations, Amanda leads the development of the employment program, focusing on addressing community staffing needs, training employers to work effectively with individuals with diverse abilities, and updating hiring and onboarding systems. She provides adults with opportunities to build vocational skills, coaches them on the job, and supports employers throughout the employment process. We are very excited to once again have Amanda join us today. Amanda, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for a caregiver's guide to supporting career development for adults with Down syndrome. So employment matters because it really provides a sense of purpose and meaning to our lives, but it's also important to remember work can look different for everyone, and there are a variety of ways individuals can contribute to their community. People can experience very fulfilling lives outside of employment as well. It's totally okay if your adult child isn't motivated to work or is experiencing some barriers to employment. It's also okay if they're prompt dependent and they rely on you frequently. And if they're older and you feel like they're not really prepared or they've missed their opportunity, there's still time to develop those skills if employment is a goal of theirs. So I want us to take a minute to reflect on our own employment journey. What was your first job? I think a lot of our first jobs were in restaurants, grocery stores, and it's totally okay to start in those entry-level positions and even stay in them if it's a good fit. And I want you to think about where you work now. Some of you may work in corporate offices or hospitals, and you've probably had multiple jobs in between then. Studies show that on average, individuals stay in jobs for only 2 to 6 years. How did you get to where you are now? A lot of times it's about who you know. It's networking, and the only way you did that is by working in that same industry and developing those experiences. Even how I got my job at Down Syndrome Innovations is because I knew someone who I'd worked with previously at that community mental health center. And I want you to think about if there were any breaks or transitions along the way. Maybe you were laid off or COVID hit, or you stayed at home to raise kids for a few years, or you're retired and now you're getting back into it doing kind of a fun job. And so this is really just to show that our individuals with Down syndrome have the same employment journey as a lot of us have experienced, and we can really help them navigate it in an amazing way. So we're going to look today at the caregiver's role through that employment journey. The caregiver's role is crucial in career development. A lot of times, our employment agencies rely on you. We rely on parents to teach foundational employment skills in the home. We know that that starts really young, even at school age individuals. We really rely on you to get involved in community programs and activities so that they start developing social skills and those transferable employment skills that they'll need later on. And we also rely on you for transportation if you're able to. So that's definitely something that is a huge issue in a lot of different areas, and we rely on you for those types of things. The caregiver's role also may change over time. It may look a lot different from when you're working with your teenager to an adult, or it's their first job, or they're getting a new job. And I think the biggest thing is learning to let go. It's okay to let go and trust providers and employers. It can be really hard, but it's important for your loved one's autonomy. And you can still advocate for them if it's important or if something doesn't feel right. But you can also, um, the more we adapt to employers' processes and systems, the smoother things will go. So we really want to try to let go and embrace the opportunity that they have available. And we really like caregivers to help teach what's professional compared to what's personal, or to know what's unexpected. That's language and terms that we use quite frequently to help with learning appropriate workplace behaviors. So it's important to verbally identify what's acceptable in different environments. It may be different from what's okay at home compared to what's okay at school or in the workplace. And it's kind of similar to when we teach what's appropriate when we're talking with parents compared to a stranger or friends, and learning kind of the different social skills with that. It's important to observe and document your loved one's interests, strengths, and preferences. Encourage exploration of different work environments. I didn't even know that an employment specialist was a job when I went to school and when I went to college. And a lot of times my career kind of navigated me to here. So that discovery is really, really important. We also encourage caregivers to help identify appropriate workplace accommodations, and most are very inexpensive. It's relocating a workspace so that they can focus better, or maybe using noise canceling headphones. So we really rely on you to help us discover those things. Here are some do's and don'ts. So please provide your employment agency, if you're working with one, with as much helpful information as possible in finding the right placement. And use your network to help with job searching. You may already have friends that own businesses, or you already have connections built in the community, and you really need to work as a team. It's much more helpful. We get people placed much faster if we work together. We also encourage you to help complete paperwork as necessary, all those onboarding documents, tax forms, direct deposit. That's really helpful if you're able to help with those. Learn how to navigate the employer human resource systems, like for clocking in and out, accessing pay stubs. Keep in good communication with the employer and the agency, especially as supports fade out. Respect decision making and autonomy. And we really encourage them to contact the adult directly and then CC parents in communications. That way, we're respecting the adult and still including the parents, just in case they may not check those frequently. Start small. Shorter shifts or a job that just checks most of the boxes are totally okay, just to get your foot in the door and set them up for success. Even when I started at Down Syndrome Innovations, I started in our adult program before we were able to build out employment. So I started there for a few months and then built it out. And give yourself some grace if your loved one doesn't have traditional employment. For don'ts, really try not to overstep and intervene when not necessary. We really don't want the employer to start ignoring communications. Try to implement your own ideal situations or way of doing things. We want to be flexible and adaptable if possible to the employer's needs. And we really don't want to try to force something to work out. If it's not a good fit, it'll just get worse. So roles can change and it's okay to pursue something different. A lot of us would resign from a position and go somewhere else if we wanted to try something new. Try not to hover. It's okay to let go. It's okay if not every job works out. It's all a learning experience, and we don't want to take away learning opportunities for growth. And try not to let fear and safety concerns become barriers. They can always resign if it's not successful, and it can be just as successful in an integrated environment as much as a sheltered one. Supporting your loved one. We always want to presume competence, and we want to support total communication, whether this looks like using an AAC device or visuals or gestures. And we really want to be curious. in the employment journey. Here's a testimonial from one of our parents. This is one of our parents that has an adult child that is less verbal. And what she recommended is to get involved with local organizations, attend seminars for best practices, reach out to parents who have older adults and learn as much as you can. She also recommended to give them home responsibilities, like taking care of themselves, their room, and chores. She did admit that her son has not used his AAC device as much as they would have hoped, and his language is pretty limited, but he knows how to use a visual schedule, read a calendar, tell time, and she also admitted that they still deal with stubborn behaviors. And the important thing is they remain calm and build in extra time for transitions, and that's really helpful. Other individuals that we serve that are nonverbal use a book like that they write in or take pictures of daily activities. They have cue cards that they use at work whenever they need assistance or utilize other visuals so they can communicate in other ways. We really want caregivers to envision the big picture, what your adult's child life will look like. Identify services needed after school. So we want to focus on instruction, continuing that education. I always envision skill building as walking up a down escalator. If we stop learning and stop growing, then we slowly decline. So we really want to encourage continuing that education even after school. And that can look a variety of different ways. You can also still do occupational therapy, speech, and all those services that were in school into their adult years. They're very, very helpful, even for adults. Provide them with community experiences. Get them involved in Special Olympics and Best Buddies, lots of different organizations if they're in your area. And get them involved in regular community outings like shopping and going to appointments, just normal independent living activities. For employment, it's helpful if they can gain work experiences through volunteering, job shadows, internships, and really focus on those daily living skills, hygiene, health and safety, money management, navigating the community, cooking, and chores. And then encouraging maybe college programs that could be helpful. There are a lot of colleges that now have programs for individuals with diverse abilities to help them have the same experience as other kids and then be able to continue their education. For further information on caregivers' roles, it's helpful to involve them in daily tasks. Like we've talked about cooking, cleaning, budgeting, shopping. These are helpful for everyone to learn. Provide opportunities for them to make choices. There's a lot of things they don't have control over, so it's helpful for them to make choices about routines, clothing, meals, and leisure activities. Teach financial literacy, using and managing money, using bank accounts and savings. It's the value of money can be kind of tricky, but when we can tie it to something that they've earned and then being able to pay for something at the store that they've really wanted to get, that really helps tie in how important that paycheck can be to support the activities that they want to be doing. Connect with adult service providers and continuing education programs for ongoing support, and encourage community involvement through clubs, social groups, volunteering to continue to build those social networks and confidence. So think about what their everyday is going to look like. We want to consider what you want for your adult child and what they want for themselves. Everything impacts employment, and all of these are important for independence. They can make friends at work to build social skills. They can be active at jobs, and that supports their health and wellness, and vice versa. If their physical health is declining, or they're overweight, that could impact their stamina, their ability to stand for long periods of time or be able to focus on a task for a couple hours. Or if they're mental health, we all know how important mental health is and how it can impact our employment, our physical health, and it's really important to see how all of these intertwine. We also want to consider transportation, continuing education, support from community agencies, their home life, family and friend supports, social life and community involvement, health and wellness, and then employment. So trying to get a well-rounded perspective of what their whole life is going to look like, but then also that day to day. So here's an example of a schedule, and this is helpful for any age. We look at employment, continuing education, daily living, community involvement, social time, exercise, hobbies, family time, and rest and self-care. So on this schedule, they're going to a continuing education program 2 days a week. They're also working 3 days a week, 3 afternoons. So maybe they do something else in the mornings. They go to the gym a couple days a week. They have their list of chores every day. They have Special Olympics Wednesday night for bowling, family time, maybe it's dinner and a TV show, friend hangout on the weekends. And so it's just really important to kind of see all those different aspects and how they create such a meaningful week. We're not just trying to fill their schedule. It's meaningful activities that tap into all those different areas. Here's another testimonial from a parent about that very thing, providing a fulfilling schedule. So they had the same fears as many new parents, but they learned that with the help of a team and time and patience, there's nothing he couldn't achieve. And this individual worked for a few hours with job coaching during his school program. And after graduation, he completed a transition program at a local college. He was hired on at an ice cream store that employed individuals with diverse abilities 2 days a week. Then he began at another nonprofit agency developing job skills. And he discovered a talent working with the public and children, which led to his career goal of obtaining a job working with kids. So he recently started his third job working 2 days a week at a day school as a teacher's assistant for preschoolers. So he's now working 6 days a week and spending his one day off with his social media accounts. So he plans to take childcare courses at the day school as a career advancement to be promoted and counted in those classroom ratios. Vocational training starts at home, and soft skills are essential for any job. These are the top expectations for employers. They're really looking for appropriate workplace behaviors. They're following directions, accepting feedback, which can be difficult for a lot of us, communicating well with others, understanding and displaying professional behaviors. Maybe we're asking for a hug instead of just coming up and hugging everybody, maintaining hygiene and appearance, demonstrating appropriate relationships. We probably don't want to be giving out personal phone numbers or texting people when we're not at work, texting coworkers. So again, learning what's acceptable in the workplace compared to social settings. Emotional regulation. So being able to handle stress by practicing coping skills, problem solving situations, and asking for help when needed. And third, stamina and concentration. So they're motivated to work, they're a self-starter, they can stay focused on a task or sit or stand for longer periods of time. So these three really encompass the big amount of those expectations for employers, and they're probably the most crucial. They're very weighted because there's such high risk, high reward. If there's a behavior in the workplace, it could impact their ability to maintain their job. And so job coaches can help teach a task, no problem. But these foundational essential skills are really difficult to train in a short amount of time. And so this is years and years of laying that foundation and really helping them with these three big things. These are really, really crucial. You can still obviously have employment and be experiencing these things and working through them, but these are just the most likely to impact employment. For a comprehensive list of transferable skills, You can always go to the NDSS website and watch my other presentation on preparing children and adults with Down syndrome for employment. Technical skills to teach at home. Chores. So many tasks completed at home are the base of skills used in future jobs. Use choice boards and task lists. You are laying the groundwork at home. They're learning how to organize and sort and how to clean and some of those really, really technical tasks that we use in a lot of those jobs. Simple locks. So learning how to use a locker. A lot of times workplaces will have a place where you can put your stuff away. So one that's letters or a lock and key or 1 or 3 numbers. I personally don't like the lock and key because you can lose it, but you are welcome to do whatever works best for your loved one. Name tags. So this is something that's really powerful when they can put their name tag on their own. It's magnetic or clip-on or with a safety pin. And then same with tying an apron, learning how to wrap it all the way onto the front so they can tie it there or in the back. I don't know, I feel like it's great when you can do it yourself and you don't have to ask someone for help when you're kind of assembling your uniform at work. Practice using visuals. Task lists. So practice using those, whether they're paper or on their notes app. Get them used to using their phone in a wise way if they do have a phone. Storage for usernames and passwords. Pocket-sized note cards, like little laminated cards that they can use to assist with routines. Always make multiple copies. And here are some examples of lists and different things that we've made with like pictures and just words. Social stories, learning about professional behaviors and expectations, and then utilizing timers and alarms if they do have a cell phone or a watch. These are really common things that we use in the workplace, and it's helpful if they've already had experience using them at home. Visual reminders. Written and visuals reminders are environmental cues to help support an individual's success and independence in the least intrusive way. So here we have examples of ones that we've used in the workplace on how to appropriately put the little side dishes on the tray. And that one, our employer actually asked if they could just keep that up for everybody. And it really worked well because they already had a bunch of visuals posted on the wall. So it blended in, it wasn't invasive, and they left it up for everyone to use. And then little key rings, like that's really common to have badges or something clipped to your pants. So that's not intrusive at all or stored in your pocket. These are other examples of workplace visuals. So the first one is kids' bags, getting all your supplies together, a checklist of all the different things that you're supposed to be cleaning. We like to try to take pictures of the actual supplies instead of just using Google Images. That way we can see exactly what it is. And then different reward charts for if you get so many things done, being able to speed up their process, if they need a little incentive or a little reward. And that's something that we always ask caregivers about too, is how we can incorporate those if needed. And we use visuals every day. So when you think about your low fuel light coming on or the little red notification that you have something on your phone, those are helpful. You know you have a new text message, and visuals are something that we use all the time. Tips and strategies to use in the home. Chunking tasks together. So we encourage parents to give 2 or 3 tasks at a time. And this is actually how we memorize phone numbers. It's really difficult for our brains to remember 10 numbers in a row, but if we break it apart, we're able to easily remember the phone number. Nowadays, everyone just has them saved in their contacts, so we don't memorize phone numbers a lot anymore, but it's helpful to break down the task instead of just giving a very long, extensive task list. You can also set up the environment to optimize skill development. So maybe you don't give them all the supplies they need for an activity that you're doing. It's missing an item and they have to ask you or go find it themselves. Let them run out of supplies. We do this all the time when we're at a job site. we will let them run out of boxes so that they have to go find more and they don't just stand there and wait for someone to replenish it for them. So we really are trying to make them not prompt dependent and go solve the problem on their own. And you can encourage them to complete tasks and then check in with you. That way you know that they've been completed and you can also check the quality. I know we all want to jump in and help, but when we do this, it actually takes away a learning opportunity for them and they're not learning. So less is better. When you feel like you're doing nothing, you're in the back of the room and they're able to do everything on their own. That's a good sign that they're gaining independence. Prompt fading. So we use this all the time as employment specialists. We start with modeling. We usually show them how to complete a task, then we do it together, and then they do it on their own. And we watch to make sure that they're doing it the way the employer wants. My coach, my soccer coach used to always say, practice doesn't make perfect, practice makes permanence. So as soon as they learn how to do something, if we don't fix it, we don't correct it and give feedback at the beginning, it's going to be really hard to undo that habit of how they've learned it. So try not to over prompt. If we started really far down this list with verbal prompts over and over and over again, telling them what to do, that's really hard to fade out over time because then we have to go through this whole prompt hierarchy. And for every prompt we give, we have to fade that out. I also think about when I'm cooking, I don't have my mother-in-law standing there telling me 2 tablespoons of oil, 1 pinch of salt. I have a recipe that I'm following. I don't have that verbal cue for every single thing. So we want to be patient and let them problem solve and then fade as quickly as possible. So if we're starting in that modeling phase, we'll move to gestures. So maybe that's pointing or even standing in the back of a room as a gesture because you're in the room. We want them to do things that they know they can do. Even me holding a door is a prompt, and that's something that a lot of the individuals I work with can do. I know they can open the door. So we have to be really careful because we always prompt. If I'm not there and their hands are full, how are they going to open the door? They're going to have to, do it when I'm not there. So that's a common question I always ask is, what would you do if I wasn't here? And let them figure out they have to set it down, open the door, and get out on their own. And then visuals. You never have to fade out visuals. Those are something that can always stay there. So here's a very practical example. Um, First time, we're putting dishes away. So we demonstrate how to unload the dishwasher by showing them how to sort the dishes and organize them in the kitchen. The second time, we'll gesture. So they start by pulling the dishes out and we point to the drawers or cabinets that they go into. And then the third time, we might use these visuals and put laminated pictures or written labels on the cabinets and drawers to show where they're stored so they can do it themselves. And these are ones that I actually took from our office that help our self-advocate employees know how to unload the dishwasher and where all the different supplies go. Here's another parent testimonial about career development. So this young woman began by doing jobs for neighbors, like a lot of us, babysitting. I started as a babysitter, but just taking out their trash or taking care of their pets while they were gone. She received vocational training through an apprenticeship program and worked part-time with a job coach. She spoke about her employment journey at an event and was offered a part-time position on the Kansas Council for Developmental Disabilities as an advocacy coordinator. As a state employee, she meets with local and national disability organizations, writes speeches, participates in webinars, provides self-advocacy training sessions, and coordinates conferences for self-advocates. For her and many others, creating a full and meaningful life often meant exploring different jobs, hobbies, and activities that bring joy and purpose. It can take time, and families may need to seek out opportunities and try a variety of options to discover what really makes their child happy. This is her parents, and her parents said they really advocated for speech services, even into her adult years, which is probably why she now has a speaking job, because she's a great public speaker. They didn't allow for the school and family members or friends to accept behavior that wasn't okay. That was a non-negotiable. They knew how important that would be later on. Sometimes they need accommodations, but they can still learn, just slower. For example, she's doing a self-paced class at a local community college. It'll take her a couple years to finish, but she's going to be able to do it and she's passing all the exams. We as parents need to provide social options. If you see children who are naturally drawn to your child, reach out and offer fun outings. She also enjoys local theater and has been cast in a few community productions through auditions. So she has lots of clubs and activities that she's involved in outside of work. There are so many things your child can do very successfully, like scouts, theater, dancing, and sports, anything they're interested in. And this mom in particular said every person is gifted at something. Look for opportunities to let them grow their gifts, talents, and dreams. Let them hear you talk about their gifts with others and not just praise them. We want to develop an internal confidence that they have and not just always externally praising them. Obtaining employment. So first we identify interest in preferred environments. We assess their likes and dislikes and places they like to go by taking them. Now, sometimes they may not always want a supporter with them, mom or dad going with them everywhere. So it's okay if they go with friends, siblings, or other organizations. Don't just go off what they say. We want to expand those generalizations. Picture interest inventories are good, but sometimes they are misleading. They might just circle things that they like. They may just circle pictures they like, and it really is not a job that they'd want to do. Their ideas of jobs might be misconstrued. So the pet store, they might like animals, but they really don't want to clean up their mess. Or they love the Kansas City Chiefs, but they don't get to watch the game when they work there or meet Patrick Mahomes. So we really have to look at what those jobs really are. Think about the underlying skill or the foundational root, not just the surface level activity. So growing up, I thought I wanted to be a doctor, but I hate blood. And I realized I just like helping people. Or we had an individual that we worked with, and she wanted to work in an office, but then she came to a warehouse with us and she loved it. She said it was her dream job. And it's because she felt productive working with her hands and seeing a finished product, just like she did in an office assembling packets. So really trying to assess the underlying skill or what's meaningful to them. Is their interest a strength or distraction? So I love fashion, but I could never work in retail because I would just shop the whole time and I would spend my whole paycheck on clothes. So that might not be a good place if they would have a distraction. Areas of employment that might be harder to get into. We have lots of individuals that want to be influencers and singers and actresses. And so we can either make a plan on how to achieve that goal or know it's okay to have hobbies. I have a lot of hobbies that I do outside of work that are not paid, and that's great. Like, that's a very well-rounded life. So it's totally okay if not everything you do turns into paid employment. So the best way to explore is by going to familiar and unfamiliar places, participating in a variety of activities with as many people as possible. It's really just broadening your world the more that we're exposed to. We want to find jobs that check these three boxes. It's something they like, it's a task that they're good at, and it's meaningful to them. That third one is the really big piece, is that it feels meaningful to their life. Where do I start looking? Start in your neighborhood, in your community, tour stores, identify jobs when you're out in the community, all the different places and the people that are working there. Job shadow, informational interviews. You can always learn about a job from an experienced employee by asking them questions. Volunteer in your community. Work experience internships are great for job discovery. A lot of us did internships in college, and that's how we found out really quick what we liked and what we didn't like. Working interviews, maybe they do a job trial. instead of just sitting and talking about a job, and they get a tour of the company and tasks. These are common job sites. So grocery stores, retail, assisted living, hospitality, sporting events, banks, offices, coffee shops, bakeries, and these are all different like common jobs as well, like bagging groceries, stocking, housekeeping, bussing tables. But also, individuals can work in many other different places. This is kind of just to give you an idea of potential places to start. A lot of these were our first jobs. And my first job was in a restaurant, but we may not be in those positions anymore. So we want to encourage career development if that's something they want to do. Your first job most certainly doesn't have to be your last. Challenge assumptions. So we really want to support this level of growth by having them try anything and everything. Even if you think they don't like it, they may surprise you. Observe how they act in different environments. What's their body language like? They can try things more than once because they may just be uncomfortable because it's new. Self-reflection is really hard. So identifying how they feel is a good skill to work on. If they're feeling thumbs up or thumbs down, happy face, unhappy face, and ask how you can best support them. Let them fail forward. Let them succeed, explore. Even a process of elimination is okay, just narrowing down all the things you don't like. Try not to generalize. Even different grocery stores do things differently. And challenge what's realistic or normal, and don't put limitations on what we think is achievable. Really let them guide the process. How to access employment supports in your community. So you'll want to meet with your local agencies. We usually call these like a one-stop shop. So they have federal and state programs that provide funding. In Kansas, it's a CDDO, Community Developmental Disabilities Organization. In Missouri, it's a Kansas City Regional Office, but it's called something different in every state. So definitely talk with other families, and even different counties can have different agencies. Vocational rehabilitation. Counselors develop career plans and assist with job development and job coaching, provide pre-vocational training, and they assist with resumes, job searching, technology needs, and on-the-job support. Developmental disabilities associations, so Medicaid waivers and managed care organizations can help you. They have coordinators that provide similar supports, but they're more ongoing, long-term. Voc Rehab is more temporary, kind of 90 days of support. And talk with a benefits specialist. You can work and not lose your benefits, so make sure that you learn how to navigate your specific situation. And local nonprofits, a lot of times will have free or private pay situations if you're not getting anywhere with other funding strategies or you're on wait lists for different things. So staff that work at these places are called employment specialists, case coordinators, counselors, job developers, and they're a professional liaison between the employer and the individual. So you can always ask for different counselors or seek out different providers. But these are just so you know kind of who to ask for or where to go. So finding employment, you want to do a resume with them. Do it together. Don't do it for them. You can always make things sound more professional as well. You can say, we complied with environmental sanitation requirements by performing cleaning duties in a hospital setting. So you're talking about the skill they developed, not just cleaning tables or trays. Assist with applications, again, do it together. Make them a part of that job process so they know you don't just get a job tomorrow, but it's a process. Prepare for the interview, so ask common questions, and then even practice phone interviews. Those are really common now, so you can try that. And then having a transportation plan in place. If you're not able to help with transportation, looking at paratransit services, rideshare, and utilizing individuals in your community. This is another parent testimonial of a girl who was post-graduation. So her first job was at KFC when she was 16, just like so many other teenagers. Her mom said that she took classes, completed internships and part-time jobs. She wanted to go to college, just like her friends. So she attended a college program and learned how to be independent. Her mom always encouraged her, but she said I was perfectly capable of teaching her, but she didn't want to hear it from me. So she always had other people teach her lessons as well and skills. And she has a job with a hospital now. And she had worked in their research studies for individuals with Down syndrome for many years. So we didn't know that when she started working there, and then she just knew everybody. But she's enjoying helping their podcast, social media, and managing participants. It's her dream job. She loves social media and it's incredible. So her mom did say she's been her Uber driver. Transportation still remains a major issue, but she's also very involved in other activities like Miss Amazing beauty pageants and lots of social organizations. Maintaining employment. So a lot of times when there's an issue at work, it usually has nothing to do with the job itself. Maybe they're wiping their nose and then touching the food, so they need to wash their hands or wear gloves. They need to understand the rules of the environment. If I need to buy something on my break and eat it, not just take it off the shelf. Or if I'm cleaning trays, I can't eat the food off the trays before I throw it away. But how to avoid these issues? You can choose a different workplace altogether where that's not even an issue. You can learn the rules of the environment. Keep good communication with the employer so you can really put the fire out before it becomes a big issue. Things can always look worse than they really are. Coming back from your break late, you just need to set a timer a little earlier and expect turnover of natural supports and managers. Career advancement. So we want to encourage participation in professional development. Like the individual we talked about earlier was a teacher assistant. Now he's taking classes to be a part of staff ratio. Help them set short-term and long-term goals and celebrate milestones. Employers see their value. So being awarded Employee of the Month and work anniversaries are great, reinforce motivation. Cross-training and role expansion. So a lot of times we'll see our individuals get their hours cut or their elimination of position altogether. So expect their job to change. Self-checkouts are eliminating the need for baggers. Restaurants are building more drive-throughs instead of having lobbies. So we want to teach them how new skills that they could transfer. That way their hours don't get cut or positions eliminated. So we'll practice facing and stocking in a grocery store instead of just bagging. So we always want to be trying to continue to train those skills, even in a customized position. People's interests may change. We want to focus on developing their character instead of solely skill building. As much as we talked about skills today, obviously, when we're hiring someone, we always hire the character, teach the skill. I would want someone who's trustworthy and loyal and then teach a skill afterwards. So who they are is just as important as the skills they developed. Individuals may want to learn something new. They're going to be in employment longer than they were in school, and their role may need to be adapted over time. Different jobs are okay for different stages of life. And this is a parent testimonial of the older years. So this individual is a little bit older, and her parents raised her to have the same opportunities as any child. They advocated for her to attend her local elementary school and be included in regular classes. She had 15 years working at a supermarket, but then the pandemic hit and she stopped working. They saw a regression of her skills. And so they moved, enrolled in a continuing education program 2 days a week. She became an admin assistant working at the front desk 1 day a week at a Down syndrome organization. And then she got a job working in a hospital and expanded her role by working different departments and studies. And she participates in group fitness to help with her stamina and endurance. She also is a member of the Kansas Council, sharing her employment journey. And this helped her regain people skills, grow her self-confidence, and she's flexible. So we actually use a Velcro task list for her so she can rearrange her task and learn that flexibility skill. And work has enhanced her life. She's even gotten to go on trips to Washington, D.C. and Spain. So again, very well-rounded. She's involved in fitness, has different programs and activities she's involved in, and also works a couple days a week. Resources. So these are very practical resources you can utilize in the home. This is called Accessible Chef, and these are free visual recipes that are great for multi-step directions and other transferable skills. It may seem like cooking has nothing to do with employment, but really, this can be really helpful in developing those transferable skills. Chore charts. So this is an example of a chore chart with visuals and things to do every day of the week. Self-care check-in. This helps adults connect how we take care of our body and how it affects our mood and energy. This is helpful for self-regulation as they become more independent. Happiness triggers. These are things you can think about to stay positive when you're having a hard time or a bad day. These are also activities you can do later during your free time and simple coping strategies that can be taken to work. Like it or don't like it, this encourages self-advocacy regarding preferences. Easy, okay, or hard. This helps communicate how they feel about a task or a job experience to better pinpoint where they need help or where they may need to make a change. Interest inventories, common interview questions, and ideal conditions of employment are great resources to help us know where to start. Rehabilitation services, the Job Accommodation Network, and Pacer Center are also great resources that are online. Boom cards, teachers pay teachers, and lesson picks are ones that we commonly use as an agency. So boom cards are interactive games that teach different employment skills. Teachers pay teachers have pre-made visuals and resources. Lesson picks can help you create your own visuals or access pre-made ones and use what you already have at home: calendars, smartphones, smartwatches. And our action items for today are to reflect on how you're currently supporting your loved one and identify opportunities to encourage even greater autonomy, decision-making, and exploration of employment interests and goals. Number two, connect with your local organizations and talk with parents, share resources, definitely connect as much as you can, and get as much information as possible. Even attending this webinar today is a step in that right direction. We're always learning, we're always growing. There's always new things out there. Even as providers, we're always doing that. Encourage your loved one to participate in extracurricular activities that focus on social relationships, mental health, physical health. Again, all these impact their employability, independence, and quality of life. These are references. Today's presentation was not only brought by me, but it was a part of our whole team. It was our occupational therapist, our adult continuing education director who helps with transition planning, and our behavior analyst, Megan DeBoom, and all of our services here at Down Syndrome Innovations are just so intertwined because, again, everything impacts your employment. Thank you so much for attending today. If you have any questions or want to learn more about Down Syndrome Innovations, please visit our website at kcdsi.org or contact info@kcdsi.org.
All right. Big thank you to Amanda for such an incredible presentation. We are so happy to have you back, and you are just a wealth of knowledge and experience in this realm of employment. So thank you so much again for presenting. We will now move on to the dedicated Q&A session and have our presenter respond to a few of your questions. So I'm going to open up our Q&A. One question, Amanda, is are person-centered plans still viable for many individuals to accomplish some of the life planning and schedule creations? I know PCPs can be a kind of time sensitive, so person-centered plans as PCPs. And then we've also, I think, heard you mention, and some folks on the call may be familiar with ISPs, so individual support plans. But just wondering if you could speak to those in terms of how folks might plan their day-to-day lives and schedules.
Yes, so a lot of organizations do utilize person-centered planning, and we really want to make sure that, again, the person has the autonomy and the ability to navigate their own employment journey, and just for us to have wraparound support to support them along the way to reach the goals that they want to reach. So again, that's really letting them guide it, direct it, and just for us to support along the way. And so, yes, person-centered planning and ISPs are very common. I don't personally, I don't like when people are sitting and waiting for a really long time. Like when you talk about time intensive, employment is a process. It does take time to find the right fit, and you do want to make sure you find the right fit for that person. But they can also still be developing skills in the meantime in other vocational opportunities, again, through internships or apprenticeship programs. And so, again, just trying to keep them as active and involved as we can while we're finding that dream job and while we're getting to that career goal, and knowing it may not happen the very first time, but we're getting there and we're figuring it out.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's incredible, and I can't stress enough the importance of a plan. I'm a big believer in a goal not written down is simply a wish. So I think if we can write it down and really lock it in, that could be helpful in all areas of life and supporting our loved ones with Down syndrome. Um, a great question here. Can tutors serve as job coaches if they are informed and have experience with these details and with people with Down syndrome and other disabilities? I guess maybe a way to distill that down is what are the qualifications of a job coach, and how might some of our natural supports and others maybe be able to kind of segue into that type of role?
Yeah, so I believe that anyone can learn how to be a job coach. It's great if they have some sort of background in working with individuals with diverse abilities or have some sort of social work background. There's lots of trainings that are out there that can help individuals learn how to prompt fade and learn how to support someone on the job. So yeah, I think it's very, very possible, and we've even done that ourselves, like being able to train people into kind of translating their skills into the workplace and train them. So we also have a CESP certification, a certified employment support professional, that's on the exams online, and you can kind of learn how to do that as well. But there are several trainings, even acre trainings are very common for providers. So yes, I think becoming a job coach is something that that could be developed for many people.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. Another good question here. It says it can be difficult for families to identify where to start with living skills, or just maybe folks not being able to maintain certain lessons. So having to reteach and kind of review different skills or different tasks, maybe even within the household. Um, and so I guess the question is, what other types of assessments or questionnaires, like the assessment of functional living skills, may be helpful? And could you maybe point us in the direction of some of those assessments?
Yeah, so there's a lot of assessments online, like on the Pacer website, that it was under the resource tab, and picture interest inventories. We have a vocational assessment. There's lots of vocational assessments on there. But I still personally believe being immersed in the environment is key. Because we can say that we want to do these things or we like this or that, but then once we actually get in the environment, it's totally different. And I think for those of us with individuals, with loved ones with Down syndrome, we understand how crucial the environment is, just as important as the task and job itself. So as soon as you get in and it's loud and it's stimulating and it's bright lighting, all those things we have to really take into consideration as a whole and not just the job itself. So there are plenty of online resources that can help you get started. But then I think actually immersing individuals into those places is where you figure out really quick, oh, this is awesome, or this is not the right place for them.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Great insight, Amanda. Thank you. I know we probably have a few more questions. So again, apologies for not being able to get to all of them, but I do want to be respectful and mindful of our time today. So just wanted to make a couple of quick announcements. Immediately following this webinar, a short survey will appear on your screen. We would kindly ask and invite you to share your feedback regarding today's event and any suggestions or ideas that you have for future webinars. Your feedback is incredibly important to NDSS, I know to Amanda in Down Syndrome Innovations, to be able to improve the work that we do and how we offer it back to you in the community. Thank you so much in advance for your feedback. Also, before we close, I just want to say another thank you to Amanda Myers for sharing your time, your expertise, your insights. We so appreciate what you bring to these webinars and to this community. Your guidance is incredibly valuable to our caregivers, and we're grateful for the practical tools and thoughtful perspective that you offer. Your work helps to empower families and professionals to better support individuals with Down syndrome, and we're honored to have you with us today. Thank you again for being a part of it. And then again, thank you all to the audience for joining us today and for the care, the energy, the commitment that you bring to your roles as caregivers. I know that as a family member myself, that is a very important role and in many ways a calling. I think we could all agree. Please keep an eye out for a follow-up email from us that will include a link to today's recording, additional resources, and additional ways that you can stay connected with NDSS. And please tune in for the next presentation in this in this caregiver series, Workplace Accommodations for Adults with Down Syndrome, What Caregivers Need to Know. This takes place on October 9th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, that's Thursday, October 9th at 1 p.m. Eastern. You can register on the NDSS website or look for the link in the chat. If you have any additional questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to us at the employment@ndss.org email address. Thank you all so much. Again, have a wonderful afternoon.